is out to get us and everything else. So yeah, just saying like the opposite is actually generally very, very good. Just saying like the world is a beautiful, like friendly place that will support me and nurture and be kind to me. And if I open my mind and open my heart to it, so it's a very good thing. Like I am loving, lovable, and loved. That's a good one. A lot of people have issues with self-love.
Do you think that the thoughts triggers the emotion, or emotion triggers the thought?
Both. Most of the time, it's often the thoughts really that are triggering the emotion. So it's good to become aware of the present moment, because in the present moment, like we know we're sitting here, and a good mantra or question to ask yourselves is like, where am I now? It sounds a bit funny, or where is my body now? And because then you can see where is your body and where are you. And then where your body is like the content of the present moment. You're like the awareness of what's happening in the present moment, or what the content is. So there's you, the awareness, and then there's you being aware of the content. So in the present moment, there's thoughts happening. There's the body here. There's other bodies. There's like things, sounds, emotions are part of the present moment too. Thoughts. But then there's you aware, the still awareness of the thoughts. So not to take the thoughts or emotions too seriously, and trying to remain present is very important, so I don't get sucked into the thoughts. I'm lost in a huge trail, like that dog who's got caught sniffing a scent. So you are present, and you can see that the nice things in the present moment and enjoy life, because your whole life has always been lived in the present moment. What's happened there?
Will you open China?
So it's funny, like most people probably don't realise, but our whole life is lived in the present moment. It's always been now, and that's where we ever live and lived and will live. Even when we remember a past thing, that's like we're remembering now. And if we think about the future, it's all we were thinking about it now. So if you don't live really now in the present moment, you're not really living exactly. And you live in anxiousness trying to reach the end future moment. I know I'm getting off track, but I'll get back. So it is like pivotally important just to become present, and one way in which you can like live meditatively is what Buddhists call mindfulness, but it's not really mindfulness, because you're not really using your mind. It's a little bit of a mistranslation kind of. It's living sensually with your senses and your awareness in the present moment. So you're aware of movement, qigong and stuff, slow movements. So slowing down a little bit is a fantastic way to become more in the present moment, and you'll be much happier. You'll be more at peace. So instead of rushing to let's say the bathroom or the sink to get a glass of water and then come back again, usually we forget everything that's happened almost by the time we go there and come back. It's making everything important. So each little small thing becomes the focus of your attention. But not like trying too hard to focus, but just a gentle movement of attention. Like when you walk, you can walk a little slower, and then you can see the flowers and the trees, and the sky, the ceiling, instead of being completely oblivious. So you were asking me about the thoughts and emotions which come first. Yeah, emotions can happen, can stir up with us easily. And the next thing, if we feel fear, for example, or if we feel angry, that will definitely stimulate more sort of negative or fearful or angry thoughts. Like if we're angry, it will definitely stimulate our thoughts to more of an angry kind. Like that judging and criticizing and blaming, angry thoughts towards somebody or ourselves. So that's why, again, it's really important. You just keep waking up from being lost in your thoughts and emotions to the present moment. And that's the practice. Every time you become aware that you're lost in your thoughts and emotions, then you're no longer lost in your thoughts and emotions. You've woken up to realize that, and you're no longer lost in your thoughts and emotions. So that's the practice, so to speak. And the more you do this, and the more you move your attention into one thing at a time. Zen, a branch of Buddhism, the mystic side of Buddhism, they say the essence of Zen is practicing one thing at a time. and it's easier said than done, funnily enough. Because we find it very hard to like focus our attention on one thing for any period of time. Because the mind is so chattery, it's here, there and everywhere. And that's why when it's here, there and everywhere, we can't get our daily live, get our tasks done very easily, because we just can't put a proper care and attention on one of the things, any one of the things. So it's really enjoyable to live mindfully, but it's with a quieter mind, essentially, in the present moment. So even if you're like looking at me and I'm talking, or I'm looking at you, you don't have to have all of your attention on me. You can also be aware of the silence and stillness in the room. And you can be aware of other people sitting around the place, sitting beside you. And the noises and stuff. So it just means we're not like completely absorbed, like we're not like captivated, like something's not sucking in all of our attention. Because if you're just looking like at me with all of your attention, then you might not necessarily be aware of other stuff that's in the present moment. Because in the present moment there's like loads of stuff happening. There's your thoughts and emotions that most people probably wouldn't necessarily realise that that's in there in the present moment. Your body's in the present moment. You hear like stuff like Qigong or Tai Chi and this type of thing. Tai Chi, it's like slow movements, and that's to get you connected with where your body is. So you're not visualizing being in the shopping centre or the office. A lot of people have a shower in the morning and they're out, but they're not really even experiencing the shower because they're thinking about the office or the traffic, going to work, etc. So moving slowly, I found my own experience is a brilliant way of feeling fantastic, like much better in life, less worries or stress, but just much more tranquility, I suppose I could say for myself lately. So I just enjoy walking across the room slowly, but because it's been so conditioned to go fast, in a way I'm deconditioning myself by going a little bit extra slower. So I'm being mindful of like the little movements I'm making in the body. And you can even also be mindful and like aware of the fact that you're listening to me. So you hear the words and you see the person. But you also have a sense of the stillness in the background behind everything as well. Behind the content of the present moment. So this is like what people try and get to when they meditate. This quiet feeling of stillness. But through practicing what I was just mentioning before, you can make this, you don't have to separate meditation from life, you can integrate it, and that's the most powerful thing, really. But you can meditate too, meditation is fantastic. It's the same thing really, but you can do both, and where it's more integrated. A lot of people do meditate, and it's like 1 or twice a day, but then during the rest of the day they might be unconscious and lost in reactions and conditioning and conflicts and judgments and everything else. So they lose that awareness of the present moment. So it's about carrying the awareness of the present moment and the background stillness and peace, the peace that passes understanding, carrying that with you into your life from the easy moments where it's quiet and you're in nature or in a quiet room and there's nothing to distract you, to bring it into the more of the active parts of life.
Actually, we are used to, I think in the West, we are used to generate so much pleasure. It's like all the time, from the food to whatever, it's nice, you know?
I know.
Jack fruit is nice.
Food is lovely.
So I think it's kind of a habit, a big habit that we actually always seek for heights, like, you know, for something which is very pleasurable. And the present moment seems to just the present moment, stillness, would be nice, but maybe a little bit bored.
It's a habit you have to get used to. I mean, you get into a habit of ordering takeaways at the weekend.
Okay, there I am. And then what, like, you know, because I'm used to this kind of heights, like, you know.
Yeah.
So you see something which is the link between peacefulness and boredom? This kind of
And boredom.
boredom.
Yeah, of course, definitely, yeah. I know what you mean. See, to the mind judges things to be good or bad, or exciting or boring. So the mind has an idea that like a football match or whatever, or like something like stimulating and active in life, like or is like really exciting or interesting. Whereas like let's say to the mind, sitting in a quiet room to meditate is like really boring because there's nothing like happening. The content of the present moment isn't stimulating, isn't interesting. So the content of the present moment isn't interesting. But the background stillness is beyond the mind. It's not the mind. It's the mind is in the present moment. The mind is content of the present moment. The stillness is aware of the thoughts or the mind. It's separate. It's a different thing. So it's only to the mind that some things are boring or not boring. But when you feel the background stillness, it's like a nice feeling and everything else. Like it's enough. It's plenty. But when the mind comes in, it judges like, oh, this is boring, or this is enough, or it starts jumping to the future. Oh, I'm looking forward to doing this. I can't wait to do that. Or it starts worrying about the future, or maybe feeling resentment or blame or regret, etc. about the past.
It's just getting
That's just the mind.
a habit of it, isn't it, really?
Yeah, it's
Like you
definitely
said,
just
a habit of, it's like giving up cigarettes or something.
Yeah.
You just make yourself stop, going out booze and taking takeaways, and make yourself.
Yeah, even spiritual stuff is just a habit. Like I think like practice makes perfect, and even just like spiritual stuff is practice makes perfect too, unless you're just really sort of like so-called lucky. Like some people, like Eckhart Tolle, for example, he just had an overnight awakening where his ego just dissolved, and he was just left with this like tremendous peace that he just couldn't understand for years and years later. He didn't understand it. So, but unless you're that type of rare exception, it's practice, I suppose you could say.
Could you say, because you said one sentence, and that was you were saying the stillness. When you feel the stillness, that it is something which is is not like nothing else. Could you say that it is? You can use our word bliss.
Our breath.
Bliss.
Bliss, yeah, bliss, happiness, joy, contentment. I think contentment is my favourite way of explaining this because when you use words like bliss or enlightenment or self-realization, like it conjures up, it makes our mind like think it's like this like amazing like super thing to attain to, but really it's not. Really, it's more like a continuous living of the background stillness or feeling good in life. It's just a contentment. Osho, you might have heard of Osho, some of you. He had a lovely little quotation that I really agree with. Something like, bliss is no more than just accumulated peaceful, happy moments in your life. Being present and seeing and appreciating the ordinary things in life. That's what bliss is, rather than some sort of like amazing, overwhelming feeling. And even an amazing, overwhelming feeling, like some people have these like beautiful, blissful moments that they say was so incredible 10 years ago. It's like I heard someone say it's like your first kiss. You can't just always have your first kiss. Like some moments are like, let's say, amazing or something, but that's just the way it is in life. And then it's not a good idea to be always trying to relive and reattain previous experience of like amazingness, because then you're just living in the past, and I suppose in a way you're missing out on living in the present moment and all the simple, like ordinary beautiful stuff, like looking at a tree. Or my favourite thing is like looking at the sky. That's one of my favourite ways to so-called meditate when I'm walking anywhere. Just to look at the beautiful clouds in the sky and all the different shades of blue, and the way the sun is shining off some clouds or behind the clouds. So this type of thing is like you're totally there, just looking at that, and it's beautiful, and you can be very happy and have no problems there. And you could say, okay, well, I'll think about my issues in 5 minutes' time. Like you're saying, you don't have to necessarily think about what you've got to do every second of the day. You could do it easily enough in a certain amount of a lot of time, so you can allow yourself to relax then and enjoy stuff, simple stuff. And then say, okay, well, I'll solve this tomorrow morning instead of worrying about it all night, because it's like an easy solve. I can solve it just as easy in the morning, because I don't need to do it until another few weeks or another day or two.